Hi there YouTube, I'm Ready and Sela and welcome back to another video. Today what I have for you is a Dragon Ball What If entitled What If Beerus Destroyed Planet Vegeta? So in this what if scenario we'll be taking a look at what would happen if the King Vegeta had pissed off Beerus the Destroyer so much that he decided to blow up the planet right there and then. The scene is set. We start in the throne room of Planet Vegeta, the dark halls, and Beerus is not amused. He's been served crappy food for the last time, and he turns to the king and goes, "Well there, king, I don't suppose that you've got anything more interesting about for me." While Whis is sitting there over there in the corner going, "Oh Lord Beerus, you should probably not be that strict with him, you know." "Well, Whis, what do you think? The food was kinda crappy, wasn't it?" And the king is on his knees begging for his planet to be spared. He's crying to Lord Beerus, and the prince is standing there watching when suddenly he is seized by someone from behind, like the young Prince Vegeta is seized by his retainer, Nappa. So Nappa seizes the princess, they rush off, and Nappa goes, "Prince, we gotta get out of here, quick!" And so they rush off towards the pods because Nappa has met Beerus the Destroyer once before, and the last time he came to visit the planet, it was almost destroyed, and this time he's not taking any chances. And so Nappa and Vegeta rush into a pod, hit all the buttons to just get the freak away, and they're leaving towards a corner of the universe unforeseen. Meanwhile, in the lower residence, a young food preparer, a cook named Gine, is walking about. Her slightly younger son, Raditz, is in the corner, not really playing, but sitting around thinking of the grand tales of combat that his father has told him. And Raditz is looking towards a view screen showing that Beerus the Destroyer had arrived, and it was a view screen detailing the parade from earlier that day, as Bardock, his father, enters the room, and Bardock goes, "You know, son, that Beerus guy, he might be a problem. I think maybe you should get out of here. This could end quite poorly for the king." And so Raz goes, "Well, Dad, if you think so, but where would I go?" And Bardock turns around and he just grabs Raditz and slams him into a pot as quickly as possible. And at this point, we're a few years prior to Beerus actually telling Frieza to go destroy Planet Vegeta. And so what Raditz is sent to is a planet that Bardock had starting to prepare his squad to take over. Like, I'm imagining these planet takeovers the Saiyans are doing probably take a bit more than 5 minutes to plan ahead, but the pods have already been set ready to go in case they would need to rush. And so Raditz is sent into space with the coordinates for planet Cereal. Meanwhile, in the throne room, Beerus turns to Whis and goes, Well, Whis, I don't suppose there's anything more we can get out of this. King, it's been fine, I would say, but it hasn't. Hakai! He exhales, and the entire planet is engulfed in purple light. Bardock and Gine turns around, looking out towards it. They know only of one Saiyan actually surviving this, and that would be Raditz, while the king takes some solace in knowing that Nappa has followed his instructions and hauled Prince Vegeta off to another realm. And so, two pods travel through space on their ways to their new destinations. Meanwhile, Beerus and Whis return to their own world. Beerus to take this slumber that he's been dreaming of for a while. Well, Whis, wake me up in 50 years' time. The Oracle Fish said something that might be a bit interesting. So yeah, or wake me up in about 50 years. And so, Beerus goes to sleep. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, a pod crashes into a mountainside. Snow is covering the peaks, and there's a small forest nearby. Now, this isn't the mountain of Mount Paisu that Goku would have landed on, or Kakarot would have landed on, in the original timeline. No, this is a very different mountain range. One hosting a temple of the crane. An old man sees this, or slightly older man, wearing goggles and a funny hat with a birdish thingy on top. He's wearing a green tabard and a yellow shirt underneath. This is Suro Senin, the arch rival to Roshi, the turtle hermit, the Kame Senin. And as he sees this pot land, he summons forth two of his most highest in potential students to escort him, Tien Shinhan and Chiaotzu. And so they begin walking slowly and then hover towards the spot that crashed into the earth, assuming that it's some form of meteorite. The pod door opens and out steps a humongously large man with a slightly short hair growth, black, as well as a kid about maybe 6 or 7 years old, judging from it, with lots of black spiky hair. They're both wearing something that seems to be battle armor of some sort, and they seem ready for any challenge. The kid, however, is unconscious, but the big oaf of a man, pushing forward, going into a battle stance and crying towards them, "Oi, you there! What planet is this?" And the Suro Senin goes, "Well, this is planet Earth, and who might you be?" "Well, I'm Nappa, and this is Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans. And we're here to take over your world and then get some revenge on the guy who destroyed our planet." "Well," said Suro Senin calmly, "I doubt that you will have much of ease taking over an entire planet, just you and a kid of questionable power." And as he says questionable power, Nappa rushes forward, knocking him out in the split of a second. A punch right to the gutter knocks Suro Senin out, and so he collapses on the ground, Tien Shinhan and Chiaotzu staring in disbelief. "Tien, what are we gonna do?" "Well," goes Tien, "maybe we got off on the wrong foot. I am Tien Shinhan of the Crane School, and you said you were Nappa. Why would you want to take over our planet? I sense an immense power coming from you. Aren't you strong enough as you are?" "Well," says Nappa, "I don't think so. The prince over here is already much stronger than I am." Tien goes, "What do we, how can we help you then?" "Well," says Nappa, "a king needs a court, and so he carries the prince on his shoulders, as well as Suro Senin, towards the chapel, towards the temple of the crane." Meanwhile, elsewhere in space, a small crash lands on planet Serial, and a child exits, knowing full well what has happened to his planet, but not caring much for it either way. He had his instructions. He's going to survive. He's going to be the bringer of the Saiyan faith, the last voice of the Saiyan people, an echo of vengeance to the universe. The good thing is, he thinks, that Frieza will probably never know that he's actually here or anywhere, or that any Saiyans actually survived, Lord Beerus for that matter. So he should be safe for quite a while. And so Raditz turns a bit around and sees, standing a few meters from his pod, a green alien, a slightly old, wrinkled green alien, still sort of humanoid but with weird tentacles. Raditz points a finger towards him and then exclaims, "Ah, you! What planet is this? and where can I get some food? And the old man returns, this is Planet Cereal, and who might you be? I'm Raditz. I'm Raditz of the Saiyan people, and I'm here to, maybe train a bit, live, sort of. Raditz shrugs, not actually kind of being prepared for this. You see, Raditz is more of a cunning, plotting type, unlike Nappa and Vegeta, who have the Saiyan dominance thing like grown into them. Raditz wouldn't just like try to take over an entire planet without the influence of those guys. In the main Dragon Ball series, what we see is a Raditz who's been molded by Vegeta and Nappa as sort of a point of ridicule amongst the Saiyans, but also as someone who's been with the Frieza Force for many years taking over planets. But this Raditz has never actually entered the Frieza Force, and so the only thing that's actually there right now for him is like a more familiar Raditz, who's been with his mother and played a bit around, maybe done a bit of combat training, but nothing that bit. At this point in the story, he's not actually wearing a combat armor. He's wearing like a gray linen, as the children of Planet Vegeta does. The old man turns out to be the Namekian Monaito, the one who in the main story came to raise Granola. However, this takes place just a few years short of Bardock's and the other Saiyans' overtake of Planet Cereal. And as a result, Monaito is just an exile living here, and making do with what he is. He's created the Dragon Balls, of course, as in the usual, but they've never actually been used to the full extent of what wish-granting powers could do. And so now he turns to watch the Saiyan, knowing full well what the Saiyans are. Because he is a Namekian, he knows full well of the Saiyan through the Namekian Book of Legends. He knows that the Saiyans are a planet-conquering race that works for the Frieza Force. And even though this particular Saiyan doesn't seem that menacing, he just wants some food and it's just a kid, Monaito quickly realizes that the fact that the kid was sent here, especially after learning that Raditz was just put in a pod and sent off by his father, that meant the Saiyans were planning to come here, which meant that Frieza was planning to take over this planet. Monaito ponders this over the next few days, bringing with him home Raditz to his humble abode. He feeds the child and teaches him spirituality, or, he tries to, but Raditz is still a Saiyan and a sort of wild brat, but he brings him to the people of Planet Cereal, and here Raditz, for the first time in his life, see people living differently from the Saiyans. He sees how children are not taught combat, but taught working skills, carpentry and such. How the Cerealians thrive as a nation of peace, not of war. And there's plenty of food to go around, so Raditz is quickly becoming complacent, quickly becoming quite satisfied with where he's ended up. But Monaito keeps thinking over the next few days. He needs a plan, and so he goes to seek out, even though he is in exile, even though he wants to keep to himself. He's sort of the turtle hermit of this place. Like, he's still a nice person to them, trading with them and such. And so he goes to find one of the people he knows from the city that have treated him well. And this is a young woman named Muesli. Muesli, of course, in the main story, is the mother of Granola. But at this point in the story, she still isn't even pregnant with him. That's still a few weeks away. Monaito brings Raditz with him, and she tells her that, I think that we might be in some sort of trouble, because I do believe that the Frieza Force might be on their way here, and if they actually are, then we are in quite the predicament. And Muesli then agrees, and together they rally together with the few Cerealians that will actually believe what this old Namekian is saying. And they plot to leave. They start to plan, and they even find Monito's old ship, the one that had brought him here, and they begin to renovate it. Sort of the same way that the Dragon team renovated the ship that brought Kami, or Kamikolo, or what you want to call him, from before his diffusion into two people. Well, the ship that brought him, the same thing happens here. They renovate the ship and get it flying worthy, and then they set off into space after a few weeks. And this is enough time for Miss Lee to actually get pregnant while working on the ship, meaning that on this travel, this will be the first few weeks that she's pregnant with her child that she will come to name Granola. Meanwhile, Raditz is training, because learning that the Freezer might be out for him, might be out for more planets, and having come to actually like Monito and the others, he wants to protect them. I'll grow up and I'll be as big as strong as my dad, and then I'm gonna kick Freezer, and then I'm gonna punch in, and I'm gonna protect you. And they all Namekian lies and say, well, that's all well and fine, Raditz. Yes, but you will need to learn a few things. And so he starts to train him and teach him quite a few abilities, learning proper key control and how to regulate his power level, making Scouters completely obsolete for Raditz, same as they were for Goku in the original story. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, however, the last few weeks have been a toll for Nappa. He does not enjoy sitting still in a temple meditating. While this has come sort of easily to Prince Vegeta, he's quite quickly found himself bonding with Tien Shinhan, who is subservient to him, who understands that he stands no chance of beating him and tries to use this as a way to influence the prince towards a calmer attitude. When Nappa is rushing for, we should take over the world, we should just transform into Osarus come the next full moon, and then we'll ravage everything, the prince goes, oh, Nappa, you won't actually need to do any of those things, you know. Like, there's no reason to take over the planet, we just need to be prepared, and we can do that here. See, at a very young age, Prince Vegeta is already probably among the smartest of all Saiyans. And so he's beginning to prep, and he's been meditating. He's learned several highly lethal skills from the assassins of the Crane School. He quickly mastered Dodonpa as well as Chaozu's paralysis techniques. Well, if you consider those magic, maybe, but I still think there are a way of key manipulations. Like, we never actually get confirmation in the original series that Chaozu is a magician or wizard of any kind, so I think it's safe to assume, since Frieza could do it too, that it's a key trait, being able to paralyze people, and Vegeta sees the use of this, of pacifying an opponent and then with one straight shot wiping them out. So he quickly masters Dodonpa, Super Dodonpa, and the paralysis techniques, even within just a few weeks. They also teach him how to fly, because he was too young to actually know that at the point of starting the story. But Vegeta is a genius and a Saiyan elite, and he gains massive improvements in short time, completely outranking everyone there. But Nappa has had enough, and one day he goes and says, this isn't befitting of a king, we should be living in a castle, and you're telling me there's already a king of this world? Well, our first step should be to deal with him, he cries out, and then he flies off, soaring off, getting ready to do what Saiyans do best. He lands in West City, near Capsule Corp, and starts spouting his mouth cannons everywhere, raising hell, people screaming, bodies flowing through the streets as the destruction of buildings rains upon them. Nappa cares not. He unleashes blast after blast, demolishing the humans. As the military arrives, decided bombing him, throwing missiles at him, but nothing touches this Saiyan warrior, this custodian of the king. And as he murders a lot of people, Capsule Corp is about to be destroyed. But Dr. Briefs, inside with his now quite younger daughter Bulma, has a plan. He's always had the contingency ready, not because he's paranoid of any sort, but because he actually knew Dr. Gero was sort of a madman who might one day try to destroy the world, and so he's sort of prepared for a Saiyan arrival as well, even though it was intended for things such as nuclear war. He hits a button and the entire capsule building buries underground at a safe distance, locking, sealing the building away through titanium doors. And remembering, of course, the garden, because Bulma's mom definitely would love to have that garden with her. And Bulma is scared and hiding, but Nappa she is safe from. He ravages the city above until someone arrives, floating on a spinning turtle. A man stands next to ready to defend the earth. An old man wearing sunglasses, an orange coat, and a wooden staff. "Well, are you there? What do you think you're doing to our planet, to our cities?" And the old hermit points towards him. "Haven't you learned your manners?" And from the opposite direction comes as well another old man in an orange jacket with black sleeves and a green poofball hat. Gohan and Roshi are here to take down Nappa. And they both power up to their full strength, unleashing the mightiest Kamehameha upon the unsuspecting Nappa. But he cares not. He simply blasts them away, blasts away, knocking them into the sky, crying, "Well, is that the best you can do, old man?" And Roshi quickly realizes this is not a point where he has a chance to do anything. And so he places a container in front of him, a small rice cooker, and he cries out, raising his arms to the sky, "Mafuba!" Nappa is almost caught in a black and green whirl, but as he sees this weird energy reach for him, he takes no chances. Having to protect the prince at a much younger age here, he is much less cocky for what's going to happen. So he opens his mouth and a massive beam is about to strike Roshi. And it does, and he is blasted completely away. The rice cooker, however, is not hit. And Gohan sees this, realizing what's going on. He knows what Roshi was trying to do. He knows that there's no way to beat this man. And so Gohan exhales and cries silently, "Mafuba!" This time Nappa is caught in the swirls, and he is swiftly but surely secured within the rice cooker, which is sealed by Gohan as he draws his final breath and falls to the ground. A couple of hours pass by, and Roshi returns to the scene of the fight, seeing simply a sealed rice cooker with a talisman on. And this is where we'll leave off for now. So tell me, what did you think of this story, and what do you think will happen later on? Please make sure to let me know down in the comments below. What do you think will happen to the prince, and now that he's alone in the care of Zuru Zenin of all people, and what happens to Roshi as he has now literally seen his prize student fall? Where will Raditz and the Namekian Monito, as well as the surviving Ceruleans, go before the Heaters arrive to take over the rest of the world? Find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball: What If Beerus Destroyed Planet Vegeta? My name's been Radiant Seela, and I'll see you all next time.